In this episode, we're going to be talking about my journey. How did I start? How did it all begin? I'm going to talk to you about my story and how it all started. Let's get into it. So around 30 years ago, I started being an entrepreneur. And how did you become an entrepreneur? Well, nobody becomes an entrepreneur. People develop into being an entrepreneur. People evolve into becoming an entrepreneur. And that's pretty much how it happens. So you take your business ideas, you take a chance, someone gives you an idea. So how it started for me many, many years ago, I had a job, working regular jobs and doing my own thing. And I always said, it'd be great, work for yourself, do your own thing. But I never had the opportunity or never knew how to do that. And it was very difficult at that time. So working, doing my thing. And then we used to walk in this mall. And we walked by this mall and we saw this guy selling hair things, hair accessories. Okay. And every time we walked by, it's like he was always busy. He was packed. Back in the day, the kids loved, Claire's and all these different things. There was like hair scrunchies and nail polish, and he was selling all kinds of cool stuff. And he was always busy because we used to walk the mall all the time for exercise. And one day we walked by him and say, "Hey, yeah, how's it going? How's your business doing?" Because we always had an interest in business. "Oh, great, I'm doing great. How you guys doing? Who are you?" Talking, and he says, "Oh, I'm interested in possibly selling my car. Are you interested?" And we looked at each other and said, "Possibly." We knew nothing about business. We really didn't know. So we talked about it, and it was like a lot. It wasn't a lot of money. It was like $3,000. He wanted to get out. He was working 1,000,000 hours and he was getting burnt out. But this was our first really experience dealing with like a retail, business, learning about being an entrepreneur. "I'll give you my contacts," he says. "I'll give you my information, and I'll tell you where to buy the stuff." Everything was like, "All right, cool. Like, how can you beat that, right? It's a great deal." Now, so we gave him it was like $3,000, I think it was like $3,000 or $4,000. He gave us all the inventory. He gave us a register. He showed us how to do it. It was pretty simple laid out. It was a basic concept of 3 for $5. So any items on the cart were, I think, $2 each or 3 for $5, something like that. And so it was a very simple concept, and it worked. It was always packed. It was a cash business. And he had basic stuff. He had some hair scrunchies, and he had hair clips, and he had nail polish. And that's what he had on the cart. Only those 3 things, but it was always busy. The kids loved it. And it was a cash cow. And the profit margin was huge, like 70%, 75%, which isn't great. If you're in a mall paying a lot of money for rent, it wasn't the best, but it was really good. So it was a good opportunity. So he gave us the sources. We looked all around, and it worked out great. So we used to go to the sources and go to this local place and buy the hair scrunchies and buy the nail polish. And I'm saying, gee, they were paying like $7.50 a dozen for hair scrunchies and $12 a dozen for hair clips and whatever, and $8 a dozen for nail polishes. I'm saying, is there something better? Then we learned there was some shows in Las Vegas. Basically the local guy would go to New York, buy the product, and upsell it. So he'd pay $3 a dozen, sell it to you for 6 or 7. So he was doubling his money, right? But I didn't want to be the middleman. I wanted to buy direct. So we went to Las Vegas, and then we started finding all these sources. And we would find scrunchies for $2 a dozen instead of $7 a dozen. We would find nail polish on clearance or closeouts for like 10 cents a bottle. We would find hair clips for like $2.70 a dozen versus 10 or 8. So the margins. Now, what happens when you start doing that? You create more margin. Yeah, you might have to pay a little bit of money to go to Las Vegas or, travel. But at the end of the day, we found so many different things. So we started expanding. We started opening up our mind. What else can this cart do? What other things can we sell besides those 3 things? So we started selling cartoon items. We started selling, hair braid items, the topsy tail. Back in the day, we had like a topsy tail. We had a beaded thing. We had so many different things. The cart was doing fabulous. And we just started out in that entrepreneurship. So that was one business thing that we started. Even before that, I was online selling on eBay, and I would sell. My daughter used to bring home, and this is the push cart thing. So we used to go to the mall, and this used to be, the Beanie Babies were huge back in the day. And this is before the craze. This was like the normal stuff. And she would go by and pick up a Beanie Baby and pick up another one. And her grandmother would buy her all these Beanie Babies. I'm saying, "What are you doing with all these stupid Beanie Babies? What is this crap?" So don't forget, we had the push cart at the same time. And then she's bringing home the Beanie Babies, right? And I'm saying, Beanie Babies, we have a push cart. We can, okay, maybe there's a secondary market for this. And then the secondary market blew up. So she would give me a couple. So she had duplicates. I'd put them on the cart for like $25, and they would sell in a second. I'm saying, she paid $6. I sold it for $25 here. Something's up with this. And that just took off, right? I mean, that blew up. So we knew people in the mall. We knew all the Hallmark people. So we had all kinds of connections. And so this is entrepreneurship. So this is how it develops, right? You start thinking and thinking and thinking. And this is how you become an entrepreneur by an idea, by seeing something, seeing somebody. We would sell them on eBay. We would put them online. There really was no Facebook, none of that stuff. There really wasn't that. It was basically eBay. And you have to pay for a service for photos. It was checks in the mail. It was so different than it is today. I mean, today it's really great. But back in the day, you really had to work at it. So the Beanie Babies were huge. So we capitalized on that, and I would do shows, and I would have, stand in line for hours. So as an entrepreneur, you start developing ideas, and that's where things change. Okay, so you start thinking about ideas and other things you can do. So you try to reproduce what you're learning. So entrepreneurs are always thinking of ways to making money. And with eBay was a fantastic opportunity. You take all the ideas that you have. Now you have a world platform, right? You have a global platform in front of you. Like, wow, this is a huge opportunity. So we started selling the Princess Diana bear, and we used to sell local. We used to sell, but after a while, people got greedy, right? So all these Hallmark people and all these sellers, resellers, or the people who were buying directly from Thai were charging huge money. They were charging $60, $70 a bear or whatever because they knew we were getting 200. So see, and that's nothing wrong with that because they are an entrepreneur. Entrepreneur, basically a capitalist, all right? So you're trying to learn and trying to build a business and not take advantage, but also how to leverage items, leverage your idea, leverage your products. That's what an entrepreneur in my eyes are. So leveraging, so eBay was an awesome opportunity to leverage my selling ability. So I would start putting Beanie Babies on it. Then Pokemon became big. I would do Pokemon. So my business idea, this is how I developed as an entrepreneur, by having an idea, by seeing something. You didn't want to work for another person anymore. I wanted to work for myself. And pretty much it went on from there. Amazing. We had multiple malls, we had stores, we had all kinds of cool stuff. So things really, so if things work correctly and you work the margins correctly, you can really develop really well. So that's how my story started. So basically started out, just doing that. And we always were interested in working for ourselves. Even before the mall, we used to do, no, actually at the same time, we would do craft fairs. I do craft fairs. Say, oh, what do you want to do? I don't know. Let's try to make candles. So how to make candles? I don't know how to make candles. So all right, so let's try to make candles. So we went on, and then there was no YouTube really. There really wasn't. There was really no information. So we would get some books, some ideas, talk to people, and we'd figure out how to make candles. Buy the wax, we buy the color, buy the fragrance, all this stuff, and it would just like be very difficult. You have to warm up the glass. It would melt. It would shrink. It was a mess. It's like this is just too hard for the return because there was so much competition in the craft. If you ever go to a craft show, everybody's selling candles, right? Candles, soaps, all that kind of stuff. So we said, okay, well, let's get rid of all this. We don't want to do this anymore. Let's just get rid of. They're going to throw all these fragrances away. I don't take all these fragrances and just throw them away. So my wife would say, well, no, let's maybe sell them on eBay. eBay, oh, that's a great idea. Maybe we'll sell on eBay. So I do some research on eBay because eBay is great for research. And if you don't know about my channel, Talking eBay, check it out on YouTube. Gives you a lot of information, teach you how to source. So my idea was, all right, so we'll take some of these oils and I put them on eBay, and bam, they would sell immediately. Put another one on, it would sell immediately. Put another one on, sell it immediately. So what's happening with my entrepreneurial mind? I'm saying, fragrances, eBay, selling, profit. Okay, there's your entrepreneurial mind kicking in again. There it is, right there. It's like it makes sense. Before you know it, I had another whole huge company because of eBay. eBay gave me basically the tools to test it into see if it was going to work, right? I mean, it's basically like a world test, getting out there, and it was flying. So now I have to find sources. So how do I find big bulk items of this thing? So I would look around and I would find sources, and I found a local source, and I was buying this by the drums. Okay, so I'm buying by the drums, and now I open up a website now so you can see how things, progress. As an entrepreneur, it's unlimited, right? You can stay on eBay, you can just sell on eBay, which was fantastic. So eBay was a huge part, and then I would do room sprays, and I would make this, and I would make that. And we had a business for 20 years doing that, just because of an idea. So an entrepreneur is not just the business that you do. An entrepreneur is a person who develops ideas. So that's a difference. That's what entrepreneurs are really. I mean, basically, you're scheming with yourself. Like, what can I do? How can I make things? What can I do? And for me, that was another idea. So eBay was an awesome opportunity to learn how to sell things. And I can go on more and more and more stories because it's always a different thing. You're always pivoting because things change, right? With the new world today, things change, right? The economy, the shutdown, things happen all the time. So eBay was a huge potential. It's a benefit for us, all of us, because you were able to sell online. You had products. You had a death pile if you had a lot of items. So those are just some experiences that I have, and I have a lot more experiences. So there's so many different things that eBay allowed me to do to test my theory, to see if it works. And what it does, it gives you the edge. So it gives you a test audience, right? So any product that you have, if you're a crafter, this is a fantastic opportunity. If you like to dabble in different things, it's really just cool that eBay gives you that option. So I took all these ideas and made, from throwing away a little box of fragrances to opening up a huge business with probably 5,000 fragrances. And I ran that for 20 years, maybe more, I forget. And eventually we did sell that off. And it was just an opportunity. So we take chances, we take opportunities, we take risks, right? But a lot of times eBay takes that off the table. It can give you a lot of teaching. It can give you some advantage. So that's what entrepreneur is all about. That's why eBay is so awesome for beginning on for people starting out as entrepreneurship, because entrepreneurship is an idea, is a strategy, and you can use eBay to really help really see where it's going to go, because that's what eBay does. eBay is awesome. So that's what it is. So that's kind of one of my stories, and the oil business took off. I had websites, and I sold on eBay forever. And then I migrated some Amazon. I did this, I did that. So once you learn the basic process behind selling, you can kind of go anywhere with that. So you can take it off. You can kind of, do your own website. I kept on growing eBay. eBay was huge in that business. Every time I had a new product, I would put it on eBay. And eBay always proven that it was either it was good, underpriced, overpriced, right? So it gives you really good live data right on the spot. Like, okay, this is selling too quickly. Let me see what's going on. And we didn't have Terapeak, and we didn't have Worth Point. It really wasn't that availability. It was almost like, okay, what was the customer willing to pay? And where was the break point? Where did it, how do you slow it down? Like, how do you balance it? You don't want to go too high. You don't want to go too low. You want to make enough profit, all that kind of stuff. So some things I would make a little bit of profit, some things I would make a massive amount of profit, and some things were just there. And then listen to your customer. This is another idea, even on eBay. People ask that, well, how did you grow your business? Well, because I listened to people. People would say to me, do you have this fragrance? I say, no. And let's make that fragrance. And then I would sell it. And someone would say to me, oh, do you have this product? And I would start making incense sticks and started making potpourris and anything with fragrances. You got to realize that anything that you can create, you can do. I sold to soap makers, candle makers, fragrance people, incense sticks. Think about it, right? Because everything has a fragrance in it, right? I mean, I was getting people all over the world, globally, reaching out to me through eBay and saying, do you have this? I'm looking for this product, that product. So those products would give you a lot of ideas and a lot of information and help you grow your business. And it's really a great opportunity. So that's pretty much a lot of how my business started. That's how entrepreneurship kind of started for me, from very simple things, from walking into a mall to not taking advantage, but working with a craze, capitalizing on a craze, right? There's always someone capitalizing. A store goes out of business. What does someone do? Buy them out? They capitalized on that, right? So there's so many different ways. Look for stores closing, different things. There's so many opportunities. So definitely subscribe to this podcast. Also subscribe to my channel, Talking eBay. And I talk about this all the time with different products. And I'll teach you how to do things on eBay. And that's what that's all about. So I hope you enjoyed this small segment. I just want to give you some ideas, some food for thought. Don't give up. Always keep trying. It's so important to just keep doing, keep pushing, and you just never know where it's going to go. As an entrepreneur, you learn, you take your time, and it's okay to use eBay to try these things because the investment is low. It doesn't cost you a ton of money. You don't have to be nervous about that. You can just test small sections of it, and that's what's great about eBay. So eBay was really huge, and eBay, don't forget, back in the day when I did my mall, eBay was just starting out. I mean, we're talking early '90s, and things were just beginning with the internet. It was just starting. eBay was in the beginning of all that. Things were just kind of rocking and rolling. We would get messages to AOL, AOL messages, right? People send you checks in the mail. It's like, oh, well, who's this from? Okay, this is an order, or they're paying for this. And it was so different. eBay was different. You didn't have photos. You didn't have automatic feedback. You didn't have protection. You didn't have anything. It was a Wild West. It was like, okay, I sold something and hopefully I'll get paid. And they didn't. It was just, it was crazy. But eBay was a great tool to help me grow as an entrepreneur. So eBay is an entrepreneurial's best situation because it gives you so much information. It's just unbelievable what eBay can offer you. It gives you experience. It gives you education. You can learn about pricing. You can learn all kinds of really interesting things while using eBay. So that's what I have as far as on this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. I don't try to keep these episodes too long, so check out all the episodes. I try to keep it around 15, 20 minutes long. That way I can give you some information without taking up a ton of your time. So hope you enjoyed this. Let me know. Leave some comments, or if you go to my channel, leave some comments on Talking eBay on YouTube. And when you're always out looking around, and this is another bad thing about becoming an entrepreneur, and I'll close on this, is that your mind never stops. Now you start thinking about every single thing you walk by. And that sometimes that could be a detriment, because that can say, oh, I can make money with this, and you can't. You lose money. So you have to be a little bit careful. You have to step back and say, okay, well, what am I doing here? Make sure you take a look at the products. Make sure you're looking at the data. Now with eBay, there's so much data today. You can really look, do the research and say, the median price. You can see how long things have been on for. When they sell, use Terapeak. Terapeak gives you, sales flow. If you buy a Christmas CD today, you're trying to list it in July. July, whatever, in the summertime, and I'm only going to get $5 for it. But maybe in December 15th, you're going to get $30 for it. Why? Because people think about Christmas really in December. Really, that's really when it happens, after Thanksgiving, right? November, December. So that kind of thing. Or if you buy summer sandals, well, you're going to get the least money for those sandals in December than you would maybe in June. So you got to think about the flows, ebbs and flows, about products, timing, and pricing. And eBay gives you all those tools, right? With Terapeak. You can use WorthPoint if you want to get into the next level. And there's just so many different things that you can use. So it's all about, so once you start, you always walk. For many times, we'd walk around shows. We'd go to Vegas, and there'd be huge shows. And we look at so many products saying, oh, we can make money with this. Oh, we can make money with that. It was like it got diluted. Okay, you got to be careful. You don't want to get diluted. You don't want to get too wide with your what your product, what your story is, what you're selling. So you kind of stay within the lane, and you can find things within that specific, genre of product items that you're selling, whatever it is, the products that you're selling, and stay within that lane, because you can go all over the place, because there are so many opportunities, especially when you go to like a big show in Vegas. And it's just there's so many different options. There's knives, and there's hunting, and there's camping, and there's a bazillion things, and everything, drones, electronics, cars. I mean, you just name it. There's a bazillion things that you can take advantage of. So, always be careful. Look at your margins. Use eBay and really do the research, because it gives you a real good real world analysis on what's going on with the products and pricing. So that's really interesting. So that's my final thought. Don't go down the rabbit hole, because as an entrepreneur, what happens, your mind starts shifting, you start thinking differently, and things can go crazy. So that's what happens. So yeah, just be careful, take your time, and don't overthink it. Just say, okay, this is in my lane. This is the research. I used to go around my phone and looking up everything all the time. I try to figure it out, and it's just too hard. Try to just really know your product, know your margins, and then basically use that. And don't let your mind control your emotions, because you can go down the wrong rabbit hole. You can go broke. So just be careful with that. All right, guys. That's what I want to leave you with. Hope you enjoyed this podcast, Talking eBay. Check out all my other podcasts on all the popular podcast channels. And also check out my show, Talking eBay, on YouTube. Appreciate it as always. And I'll see you at the next Talking eBay.